I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Uzomah's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like give like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.
Boys and girls, welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilots. I've got Green Bean to my this way, and Matt O'Leary to my that way. Green Bean, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm psyched. I love speculation. I love how angry people get about fake shit. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Oh, Matt, how you doing tonight?
Good. I didn't have enough of yelling about the quarterback situation, so I went live at 7, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk with these guys from 8 to 10, so it's like 3 hours of Jets talk in here. Let's go.
Yeah. Boys and girls,
Love it.
make sure you hit that like button on the way in. If you enjoy watching the Talkin' Jets panel, for every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to pick a t-shirt qualifier from our live chat, and we're going to pick a t-shirt winner at the end of this stream. If you want to get entered after the fact, all you got to do is drop a comment after this video has aired, and you'll get entered into next week's t-shirt giveaway. We do have a poll question in the live chat right now. Which trade would you prefer? 3 firsts plus more for Lamar Jackson, 2 firsts for Aaron Rodgers, 1 second for Carr, or free agent Jimmy G. I guess that one's not a trade, but those are the 4 big name quarterbacks that we're going to be talking about. And I want to get your guys' opinions on this, but let's jump into the clip that we heard from Schefter earlier in the week with Mortensen, talking about all the quarterbacks overall, and then we'll come back and talk about it on the other side.
This will be the 3rd straight off-season in which Aaron Rodgers' future is the subject of much speculation. But make no mistake, both sides are fully aware that a trade is a very real scenario this offseason for Aaron Rodgers. The Packers are expected to move on from certain players, which Aaron Rodgers probably will not like. The issue here will be the $110 million left on his contract and which team could afford it. But there is a real possibility that at some point this offseason, Aaron Rodgers is going to be traded. Meanwhile, Tom Brady's taking his time to make a decision. No one knows exactly what he's going to do yet, but also after last offseason when word leaked about his retirement, his circle is tightened as to what he will and won't do this offseason. If he does play, there will be personal and professional considerations to take into account. Tom Brady is expected to want to play for a winning franchise if he does decide to continue moving forward. As for Derek Carr, he is expected to be traded at some point this offseason, and as usual with quarterbacks, the demand exceeds the supply. The entire NFC South is expected to be in the market for a new quarterback. The Jets, the Commanders, the Colts, the Texans. There are so many teams that need quarterbacks, which elevates the value of Carr. And that is why at some point this offseason, earlier rather than later, he is expected to be traded.
Who generated more talk about his future than Lamar Jackson? Because he's only 26 years old, because he enters this offseason without a contract. Now, the Ravens can franchise tag him exclusively for $45 million. That's a big number, certainly during the February to March window. But GM Eric DeCosta said he's sure that they can get a deal done. These things take time. He said they will act with Lamar's urgency, because Lamar represents himself. Is Lamar that urgent? You know, he was asked, DeCosta was, would you entertain trade offers at any point if you're not reaching a deal? He said, we're not going to talk about that at this point.
All right, so those were the comments made about the quarterback search and situation. Jets obviously looking for a quarterback. My quick thoughts, the first one was Aaron Rodgers. A trade could be possible. Both sides feel like that is a could be a potential situation where this could all be headed. I hope so. That'd be really cool to see Rodgers in some green and white. I think the Jets, if they do decide to move him to the AFC in a trade, which it appears they wouldn't entertain the NFC options. Be a good option. Tom Brady, don't want to talk about him. Forget it. He's going to Vegas. Derek Carr. They mentioned that Derek Carr is going to be traded. And that is surprising to me because I still feel like Derek Carr is going to get cut. It doesn't seem like Derek Carr wants to do the Raiders any favors. And here's what I'm talking about. There's a tweet from, let's see, can I add it to the screen? Give me 1 second here. And I'll throw it up on the screen. I think it's this one. Is this right? Bam. Okay. Derek Carr tweeted this, 2 days ago? 3 days ago. Thank you to all the people reaching out, trying to give me their platform to tell my side of what happened. It's the hardest thing in the world not to jump on every interview and tell the whole truth. Thank you, but I'm choosing to move on and give our next city our best. Like, does that seem to you like it's like it feels like there's more? There's something deeper there that we're not seeing on. When he says, I want to tell the whole truth, it feels or implies or is explicitly telling us there is some truth that we are not being told currently. I don't think he's getting traded. I want to play one more clip real quick. And this is about Derek Carr's brother. This is a podcast that they want to shoot. So this is David Carr.
It's my brother. And he's going to go find another job. He's going to try and play quarterback in the NFL again with another team. And right now it's a little touchy, okay? There's some things going on. They're trying to work a trade. Derek has to accept the trade. Mark Davis tried to trade me once. That didn't work out. See how it works out for him with my brother. Saying all that, yes, eventually we'll shoot a podcast. It'll be fun. We'll dig into what all went wrong and that enjoyable season that we all got to enjoy together on the couch in the stadium. Depressed, excited at times, but left a little bit unsatisfied. I know the Raider fans are excited to dig into this, to learn about what happened inside the walls in Las Vegas. We're excited to tell you, but I think we're going to have to wait a little bit, right? If you really think about it, pause the video, think about it, right? You'd wait a little bit.
So again, with this cryptic stuff, something more going on behind the scenes. I've been saying it for a while now. I think Josh McDaniels submarined the whole season for the Raiders, so that way they can move on from Derek Carr and he can select his own quarterback. He lost by what, 3 times this year after having leads of 17 points. Blew the most double-digit games of all time. If this is the guy that's supposed to be some juggernaut on the offensive side of the ball or some brainiac, it does not compute. Something doesn't pass the sniff test for me. I think there's more going on. I don't think Derek Carr is getting traded. And then on the Lamar Jackson front, that final part of that first clip that we saw, I don't think we're gonna actually get Lamar Jackson. I would be pretty surprised. I think he's probably like Green Bean said, staying in Baltimore. And if he is traded, I think he's going to Atlanta personally. But Green Bean, I'll throw it to you first. What are your thoughts on the Schefter comments and all these quarterbacks that we're kind of talking about here?
Well, there's a lot, Ryan. I hope you're going to allow me to talk for 15 plus minutes. All right, here
I've
we
got
go.
plenty of drink.
O'Leary. Number one, I think, and I'm going to go for it here. Okay. I think Derek Carr would be talking about it, but he's not allowed to because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So he's not allowed.
Do I have that?
Yeah, I was waiting all day. I was waiting all day for that one.
I don't have it queued up. Let me see if I got it queued up.
What do you got? A little sink?
There it is.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yee-hoo! All right, so I'm glad it landed. At least you guys were listening. I think, look, I feel just quickly on David Carr. Mm-hmm. I sense a little bit of venom there, a little bit of like, these guys are doing my brother wrong. He brought up a situation he had. Now, I know what you're saying, Ryan, about the next city thing. And I've heard this throughout the week, people saying, well, look, Derek Carr, he has the right to refuse any trade. He can say, screw you, give me my $40 million. I'm going to sit right here on your bench if you don't want me. He could do that. He can. But so that leads us to believe, like with a comment like that, that he's not going to want to see the team he goes to have to give up all their capital that could be used to get him some nice new shiny toys. And I think there might be some truth to that. At the same time, I think, Derek Carr is going to have to realize that the Raiders need to get something too. I mean, it's just the way it is. Now, Josh McDaniels, this is exactly what he did in Denver, everybody. I mean, it's the same thing. He went over to Denver. He wanted Castle. He didn't like Cutler. He got rid of Brandon Marshall. It was like this weird thing. Denver fans were like, what the this is the only positive stuff we have. And you're gutting it. He's doing the same thing over there. So I think, this is, it was to be expected. And, me personally, I'm on the Derek Carr train. I saw some comments in the chat. They were saying, Derek can't get you to a Super Bowl. I see no reason why he can't, I mean, just like you said, I mean, it was actually, they were 3-5 this year in games that they led by 14 or more. 3-5. So they lost 5 games when they were up by 4. Does that sound like a Derek Carr problem? Doesn't sound like a Derek Carr problem to me. So I think, that's one thing. Now, as far as Aaron Rodgers, here's the thing that spooks me. Just like I think it was Schefter saying it. The last 3 years, we've been talking about what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. And every single year, there's the one word that spooks me, and that's retirement. That's part of it. And I saw some tweets earlier today, like, do you realize that if we give 2 firsts and $50 million, I think this year would be, O'Leary can tell you, but it's
15 million this year and 32 next year.
Right. So let's say we give him 15 million this year and we pay 2 firsts, and then he goes, I'm done. Is that enough? I mean, we get a Super Bowl maybe. But
do you think they do a conditional pick though? Like, I mean, I would think as long as he's on the roster, you're okay giving up the pick because you think it's going to be relatively high, right?
Point. And that's
just
the
have to
point.
be conditional.
Just going right, exactly, Ryan. Well said. So just going and dumping 2 firsts. And look, the good news is we have Joe Douglas. He has proven to be somewhat proficient in the trade game. And I think he's going to be able to balance that. And if Aaron Rodgers is teetering on like, hey, man, I don't know what I'm going to feel next year. Ayahuasca, I'm fucking, I'm tripping, whatever. Then, God bless him. But, I think that's a little spooky. But, yeah, man, I mean, it's also interesting. But we have to remember that this is speculation season. And look, just like he said, the last few years we're talking about where's Aaron Rodgers going. And he's been right where he's been. So nothing's happened. As a matter of fact, they gave him a monster extension that's now prohibitive. So anyway, I'm a little bit hesitant to really bite into any of these. But I'll tell you what, it is a little exciting. Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, I never thought was going to happen. And I don't want it to happen, honestly. But the other ones it's pretty exciting stuff.
Matt, what about you? How are you feeling about Schefter's comments and everything going on around these quarterbacks?
Yeah, this is a lot to get into, but I guess I'll start with Rodgers because that's kind of the biggest story over the last couple of days. Rodgers is intriguing to me, and I was glad when I was able to do the digging thanks to Over the Cap that it would be 15 and 32 million for him, and then you can get out of it after that. And I think it would be a 2-year rental. Now, the thing is, I don't know if I want to give up the 2 first-round picks for it, but I saw another report. Some capologist, I forget who it was saying that he sees maybe like a day 2 pick this year and a conditional first-round pick next year if he plays next year, which I think that is something that I'd be a lot more comfortable with than doing the 2 first-rounders because they got to find an offensive tackle somehow. And if you're bringing in Rodgers and you have to fix other positions, I don't know how you're going to spend $20 million on a free agent tackle potentially in that spot.
He wants to take his left tackle from Green Bay. Bakhtiari has a $28 million cap hit, so they're going to cut him.
Okay, great. He's hurt every year too. So what good does that do?
Well, okay.
I mean, he's been
Dwayne Brown.
Great. And Mackay, great. 3 injured left tackles.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Perfect.
But But I like Rodgers, and that'd be a big swing, and I would get it. I understand why they'd want to go that direction. Carr, I don't think would nearly be as costly. And honestly, I was like half joking, but half kind of serious on my show earlier today. I said I kind of am rooting for it to be Carr just so this conversation's over, because I can't continue to do this every single day for 6 months. I think that might actually drive me insane. But the Carr one is interesting. I do think he would get traded. I don't think they're going to cut him. I think he would do the right, not the right thing, but like be a good soldier about it, just based on his personality. Like he kind of just seems to be that kind of guy. And whether that's a 3rd round pick or a 2nd round pick or whatever, it wouldn't be nearly as costly. I don't get the take that you can't compete with Derek Carr. I don't get that. I think he's a good quarterback. We saw a good quarterback get traded last year who was claimed that he could never win anything and won a Super Bowl with the Rams. Jimmy G scares me because of injuries. When he's healthy, he wins all the time. And I agree with your take on Lamar. I think he's more than likely staying with Baltimore now after they had that conversation and said he's going to be in the mix for the offensive coordinator search. If he does get traded, Atlanta just seems to make a ton of sense there. I don't know why they would trade him in conference. So, yeah, I mean, that's a lot, but that's pretty much it right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. For me, the thought process with Carr is like, you know, I've heard the argument, oh, you can't win a Super Bowl with Carr. I mean, if football in general is an any given Sunday sport, then why are we looking at all the Super Bowl winners and we're not looking at like all the Super Bowl quarterbacks? Because if it's an any given Sunday, I want to see both sides of the spectrum. And I think Derek Carr is every bit as good as a Matt Ryan or as a Jimmy Garoppolo or as any of these other quarterbacks that we've seen kind of go through into the Super Bowl and just get taken down by like a Tom Brady, or, you know, I think he could be as good as a Nick Foles or something along those lines. I don't think, you know, Eli Manning statistically wasn't anything crazy. He was just an Iron Man, stayed on the field and got hot at the right time. I think Derek Carr absolutely falls into those same kind of categories when you're talking about quarterbacks here. Greenby, do you seem to think the same sort of thing as me as far as Derek Carr and these other quarterbacks that wind up making it to the Super Bowl?
Well, I think people are silly. I mean, you know, we have to look at the entirety of the situation. You know, I mean, you know, like I think I saw it in the chat, or maybe you just said it, you know, like Mark Sanchez, dude. Mark Sanchez is not the quarterback Derek Carr is. I'm going to share that with everybody just so we're clear. And he made it to 2 AFC champion, right? Yeah. He made it to 2 AFC championship games. You want to know why? Because he had arguably the number 1 defense in the NFL, a top 3 running game, and a top 3 offensive line, and a whole smattering of pretty damn good aerial weapons, whether it be tight ends or wide receivers or what have you. So I think, you know, the thing to remember with Derek Carr, you know, everybody, you know, there's this thing that, you know, like, Derek Carr is a good quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. And that may be true, but Derek Carr has consistently overcome like just mad obstacles, man, from, again, never having higher than the 20th overall rated defense. Never. And that doesn't mean they were always at 20. We're talking the 30th, the 28th, like really piss poor defenses. He's had very, very poor offensive lines, 4 different coaches, 5 offensive coordinators in 9 years, and he's still among the top 10 or so, 10, 12 in the NFL every single year. So I think, you know, you bring that guy to a stable situation like the New York Jets. I mean, look at our stability. You bring him over here. We're rock solid. Bring him over here with us and Garrett Wilson, the offensive rookie of the year, by the way. And I think Derek Carr can get us to a Super Bowl. I don't like these limitations. Like, he's clearly shown that he can perform at an NFL level, at a high NFL level. And I think that we kind of look for things, the cold weather, 7 games. Yeah, he didn't win 7 games in 9 years. You know, I get it, but it's like, really? That's where we are? So I don't know, man. When he
eats soup with his left hand on a Tuesday in November, he's less likely to have a fever.
Yeah.
No, it's
Well, no, but it's the truth, right? Exactly. On Sundays when the moon is waning, it's like, okay, you know what I mean? How many times? How many? So that's the thing. It's like, again, I think you pair Derek Carr with a defense like we have, with a Breece Hall, with a Garrett Wilson, and this offensive line. Don't forget, man, our offensive line, like the big issue is injury. Not that we don't have the players. And we're going to bring more in, I would imagine, but it's like injury was the issue. Think if AVT and Becton and these guys are actually healthy. Excuse me, this might be the best offensive line Carr ever plays with. So I like it.
Yeah. And I think with Carr, you can use your 13th overall pick on a tackle if that's what you so choose. Matt, any more thoughts on the whole quarterback sort of carousel? You think you can win with a quarterback like Carr, considering some of the other quarterbacks we've seen in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I love the definitive statement. You can't win anything of substance with Derek Carr. How the hell do you know? How do you know? He's had the worst defense in the league in almost every single category since he's come in since 2014. Look, like everybody knows, wins are a quarterback stat. No other position impacts the game. So wins and losses, that's it. Give me the guy with the most wins.
I love it. All right, I've got
real quick. How am I making excuses? Like, it's Snoopy. You're making excuses. I'm not making excuse. I'm painting the.
You're giving context. You're giving context.
You are a beautiful painter, my friend. You are the Picasso of our offseason.
Yeah, we've lost our minds. It's Snoopy. We've lost it. I'm just telling you the facts. It's not excuses. It's the truth. It's what we've looked at. Now, it would be one thing. Look at the Jets. We have all these issues, and we're making excuses for the guy being the 32nd ranked quarterback in the NFL. That's what we're doing. Those are excuses. Well, you never had this, and you didn't have that, and poor Sammy never had a quarterback coach. Derek Carr is still throwing 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 65% completion percentage. So through all of it, he's still among the top quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't think you have to make excuses, Snoopy Dupes.
Love it. Love it. Getting Green Bean fired up tonight. 𝐒𝐿_𝐻𝐿 drops in with his 11-month member super chat, says, I trust whatever Joe Douglas decides. I'm right there with you. He's going to do. I trust him on the whole trade front. So if we're trading for a quarterback, Jets will make sure they get the best of those deals. Blitz Crew celebrates 2 months of membership, says, any chance the 2 firsts can be 2024 and 2025? I don't think so. You're going to have to give them some type of asset this year so that way you can win, or so that way they can use it to help make their roster better because they're going to have a big dead cap hit from Rodgers. So I think, like Matt said earlier, where you have maybe a second-round pick this year and then a conditional pick based on performance this year and if he plays. Like, I have no problem giving up a first. Like, the old Favre deal, right, was a third-round pick to come to the Jets. It was a second-round pick if you make the playoffs. It was a first-round pick if you make the Super Bowl. I'm fine with having those same exact stipulations for next year's draft pick and give a second-round pick this year, if you could do it. I mean, if I had to give up the first, if they are going all in, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not going to, necessarily, poo-poo it, I guess. But I do think that you'd have to give up an asset this year. Matt, what about you? You think you'd have to give up an asset this year?
Yeah, I definitely think you do. Maybe it's not the first, like the other capologists who laid out a day 2 pick this year and a conditional first next year. But I don't see how you're getting out of this without giving up something for this year.
Yeah, Green Bean, what do you think? You got to give up a pick this year?
Yeah, no doubt. Without question. They're not going to be like, yeah, sure, just, why not? 2026. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to want something right now. And, one of the good things, like a first-round pick. I don't think there's any way, around it.
Marvin drops in, says, we don't have to give up 2 firsts for Rodgers, especially not with that contract and attitude. So the contract's not bad. Like Matt said earlier, $15 million for next year, $32 million for the year after that. It would be a $60 million dead cap hit in 2025. I guess you could probably convince him if he wanted to retire maybe after June 1st, then it would split it over 2 years. But by and large, if you want to bottom out in 2025, it's kind of okay because the big money for your young players is not kicking in until after 2025 anyway. Like, you're going to have AVT on his final year, or no, I think in his fourth year? No, final year. You'll have Brees in his final year. So you can have the money hit in 2026 and beyond after that. So I don't know. The contract's not an issue with me. The attitude's interesting because if you were to pick a role model for Zach Wilson and you had to amplify the traits that maybe you don't like about Zach Wilson's personality, it would be like a grown-up Aaron Rodgers. It'd be like, some of those weird personality like quirks that are like, that guy's kind of an asshole. And I'm not saying Zach's an asshole, but I think we all understand some of the, perceived personality traits that we've kind of heard little rumblings about throughout the year. So maybe that side is definitely a little concerning, but at the same time, I think if you're making the trade for Rodgers, it's the Hail Mary attempt to get Zach to work out, and you're going for the Super Bowl. So at that point, it's gravy with anything you get with Zach Wilson, because even if Rodgers plays 2 years, I'm still drafting a quarterback in 2024 to compete with Zach Wilson in 2025 if you decide to do that. Fun fact that I brought up in my video today, but I want to share with you guys, you can exercise the 5th-year option, and it's fully guaranteed for injury. So in the event that Rodgers, let's say Rodgers plays 1 year, then you have to decide in May to exercise Zach's 5th-year option. Let's say you saw enough growth and Rodgers is coming back. You exercise the option. The only thing you'd have to worry about is Zach getting injured during the year and not passing a March physical when you could cut him. If you have to pull Rodgers for any reason due to injury and you don't like what you're seeing with Zach, you must go to your 3rd-string quarterback and decide you're going to cut Zach at the end of the year. You would not want to risk him potentially having a season-ending injury and being on the hook for that final year after that. So just another option that you can kind of look at here. Matt, any issue with the attitude, the contract, anything like that with Rodgers?
Not really. I get it. The contract is a little bit easier to palate after finding out that it's 15 and 32. And then if he was to retire after the 2 years, so after 2024, then it would be 32 spread out over the 2 seasons after that, which isn't ideal, but you can live with it. Attitude, is he kind of a dick? Yes, but I don't know. He'd immediately elevate this team, so you live with it.
Green Bean, contract, attitude, issue with you with Rodgers?
No, I don't think so. And I think, it's all about, like, if we bring on, like, let's say we decide to hire Nick Caley, even though the Patriots won't. We bring on a guy like that who's going to be trying to prove himself, and then we bring on Aaron Rodgers. I think that his personality could certainly have an impact there negatively. Like not wanting to buy into some first-timers bullshit. I think that could have an impact. But I think overall, man, look, the guy's been a multiple-time MVP. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's among the elites in NFL history. And, look, you gotta know that and fucking, get in line, dude. You know what I mean? Stand in line, and do what he needs you to do. And that's it. And I think we'll find out really quickly which guys are kind of not team players. Like if an Elijah Moore is like, hey man, what the fuck, man? Like, dude, beat it. That kind of stuff. I don't think it would be a problem unless we bring on an OC that's a rook.
Good stuff. Maine Jets fan drops in. Maine says, hey guys, love the show. Big thumbs up there. Just a question. Would you guys be open to streaming the Super Bowl? I would watch the hell out of that. And let's get Carr. No, I enjoy watching the Super Bowl. As much as I love these two goons, I want to pay attention to the game, the snacks, the conversation. So it's a big no from me, dog. I appreciate it.
Let's do it.
Matt. I don't know if I could even do it if the Jets won this. If the Jets were in the Super Bowl, I think I'd have to focus on the TV. I don't think I could even do that. I don't care how much fun I could have streaming. I'll do the halftime show with you, Green Bean. Matt and I'll hop on for that.
Yeah, right.
That'll be us talking.
It depends on who the act is at halftime for me, Green Bean.
That's true too, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I don't know if I could do it, man. Honestly.
No, I don't think
that's
you can.
too much.
There's an enjoyment factor to sit back and watch, and like
right.
I like the on the couch experience more than the hear you guys, can't hear what's on the screen.
Yeah, right. I need the screen on. Right.
Let's see. Thomas Cahill drops in with his 12-month member super chat. Says, great draft last night, Green Bean. Let's get 𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐞𝐞𝐳. Green Bean, I was in your stream for a little bit. I was trying to push my center pick on you guys. Ricky Stromberg, big fan of the Arkansas center. You want to tell us a little bit about your mock draft from last night?
Yeah, well, as you guys know, we do the Monday night 10 o'clock mock over here on Green Bean's channel. And last night was the second week. And the theme, we do a different theme every week that helps us govern the way that we'll respond to the mock. So this week was if we traded Elijah Moore to the Broncos for pick 67. So what would it look like if we did that? And a whole bunch of shit happened. But yeah, we ended up taking a center in the second round, John Michael Schmitz, though, not Stromberg. And I was really happy with it, man. I mean, we had a good draft. We ended up gaining 2 firsts for next year. We traded all the way out of the first. The thing is, it's not me making the decisions, right? Like Dom C and I, like we talk about it, we give our input, but it's all poll. I put it in the poll and you guys decide. So look, it's fun, man. And it's the funniest thing. No matter what happens, it's completely decided by the poll. Every week somebody will email me and tell me I suck. I hate you. I hate what you did. And that's par for the course. But yeah, man, it's a good time. And we, I can tell you right now, we didn't get Ika, but we got another guy I really like for the defensive tackle position, Keandre Coburn out of Texas, 346 pounds, and I like him. So we got Anton Harrison, tackle up top, John Michael Schmitz, safety Christopher Smith, linebacker Owen Papo, wide receiver Jonathan Mingo, Keandre Coburn, the defensive tackle. Then this guy was purely on his name, bumper pool. We got him. We needed it. We needed it. And then we got wide receiver Raheem Jarrett out of Maryland. And we wrapped it up with a punter because we're going to go ahead and save that $2.7 million by cutting Braden Mann. So we got Michael Turk. And again, we got 2 firsts for next year as well. Not bad. Not bad.
Chris KV chimed in, says, we need to draft Bumper Pool.
Yeah, man.
Bumper Pool's going to be the guy in every draft. There's always guys with cool names. Like, I love watching that, like, coolest names of the college football season. And it's like, Bumper Pool's a pretty good one.
Is that a person? That's real?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh. It's got to be a nickname, Bumper.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I think you just have to draft him based off that name, no?
That's exactly what happened.
The name bumps him up probably at least 3 rounds, I think. He might be a first-round pick by the time the draft rolls around.
Right.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Sauce worked out perfectly. Bumper Pool's coming up next. I want, a battle. Battle Sauce in the backfield? Come on.
Yeah,
Want some
all
battle
kinds
sauce.
of fun names like that. Right, man. The whole team full of fun names. I'm in.
𝐒𝐫𝐞𝐞𝐳 drops in, says, do you guys think the firing of LaFleur, the Packers head coach, wouldn't accept anything the Jets or try to get more than what they're asking for? No, I don't think so. I think Matt LaFleur, the Packers head coach, understands that Mike LaFleur was made the scapegoat for a bad pick or, there's justification to it for sure. And LaFleur is going to be fine. He's probably going to be the OC out in LA. That's what it seems like for the Rams under McVay. He's going to land on his feet. No problem. As far as would they accept anything from the Jets or another team, let's kind of go through some of the teams that you'd sort of consider. If they're not trading with the NFC at all, you're talking, okay, the Raiders, I think they're probably going after Tom Brady. I don't think the Packers are realistically trading him there. I think the Patriots are an interesting spot, but I don't think he's going to want to follow Brady. Like, there's certain locations he may not want to go. Maybe New England might be like I don't want to say the only one, but that's a big one. Indianapolis, I think, is an interesting one because they have a really good offensive line. I think they have the 4th pick in the draft, and you have to consider, okay, are they going to pull the trigger on a quarterback at 4, or are they going to go the veteran quarterback route and maybe save that 4th pick? Would they have to give up the 4th pick in some type of Rodgers trade? I don't think they'd have to give up that one. But I think the Jets, are, from all perspectives, can offer the best draft compensation because of the teams in front of us. Only the Raiders are an AFC team in front of the Jets with a higher pick. And, I think Rodgers, based on the roster, would want to come here. And actually, this is a good transition. So Mumtaz and Scuttlebuttle, we'll get to your super chats in just a second. I want to go over to the Aaron Rodgers on Zach Wilson and the Jets. He was on the Pat McAfee show earlier today. Let's listen to this.
Yeah. Hey, do you have a relationship with Zach Wilson? Was it Rappaport who said you texted him when he was like in the facility during the offseason on a Friday morning? You said, "What are you doing? Get the hell out of there, man. Spend some time away from the facility." Are you guys tight?
Well, it wasn't a Friday morning. It was a Friday night, and he was there late. And I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Get out of the facility." I said, "Get out of there, clear your head, be a kid, go to dinner, relax a little bit." So I met him before the draft, and then they came and practice against us in the preseason. Had some of those inter-squad practices where they come in a couple days early, and I think he's super talented. I think a little humility is good for all of us at various times in our careers, and I think the first year they literally had no players. They came and practiced against us, and I was like, defense can play, and the offense needs some more players.
I think you said that to us, actually. Yeah, a couple years probably. That's what you said, couple years.
And then they added, a young receiver, right, from Ohio State, is it?
Garrett Wilson. Garrett, he's a stud.
And got a tight end from the Bengals, I believe.
Uzama.
And the young
Brees Hall. Brees Hall is getting healthy again.
They picked a running back, right, who was pretty damn good last year.
Awesome.
So it's just, for him, it's just going to be, humility, leaning into that, and then just consistently, working on the fundamentals. I think he's so talented, but the best in the business can make all the plays outside the pocket, can move around, but fundamentally inside the pocket, like especially the two guys on the AFC side, you got guys who can really play in the pocket and then also extend and make plays outside the pocket. But inside the pocket, that's where you beat teams.
So that was what Rodgers had to say about our Zach Wilson and some of the key pieces that the Jets have added over the course of the last 2 years. And to me, when I'm watching that interview, I'm thinking, all right, Rodgers just said, okay, look, Zach sucks. And like this, he needs an attitude check. Sometimes we got to be humble. Sit his ass on the bench behind me. I'm going to come over there with all those weapons you guys just got. But I'm going to make sure he's got everything figured out. Don't you worry. I'm coming to New York. I'm reading between the lines here, but that's what I read. Matt, you see something similar?
Yeah, to me that says I'm going to come to the New York Jets, win you a Super Bowl, and get Zach Wilson right for 2025 and beyond. I'm all in. Let's go, baby.
Green Bean, your thoughts?
Well, I got to be honest. I love the candor. You know what I mean? I love the, he's just like, and I don't know if you guys noticed it, but it said on the bottom, Aaron Rodgers, a back-to-back MVP, ayahuasca enthusiast. That's what it said.
I didn't catch that. That's funny.
That's what it said. So yeah, man, I think, look, whether or not he would come here and take extra time to be a coach to Zach Wilson, I don't know. But I think he would be a, somewhat of a positive influence on how to kind of do this. And even if it's just like how to shake off the stress, I think that would be, beneficial as well. And I think it would be good, man. And I think, I didn't hear any confirmation, but they are talking about it. So what's up with that?
Mumtaz comes in. Mumtaz says, if Green Bay wants 2 first-round picks for Rodgers, we should send them pictures of the state bird of New York. Also, why is Woody chirping? Stop telling everyone I would love to give 2 first-round picks. I don't think Woody has said he wants to give 2 first-round picks. It was the speculation that it would take the Packers 2 first-round picks to trade Aaron Rodgers. That seems like a steep price. That's way steeper than I would have thought for potentially a 1 or 2 year rental. So I think there's a way you could structure it where I would be fine with giving up 2 firsts. But the second one would have to be conditional, because if you're telling me if I would give up a first round pick for a Super Bowl, the answer is yes all day. And if it's, would I give up a first and then have a shot at a second Super Bowl or whatever? Yes. You're giving me an option. We haven't found a quarterback in 50 years. I'm going to get the best one, arguably like ever. And I'm going to go make him a Jet. So I like this. Matt, any thoughts? Holy smokes, Justin Crazy with the big super chat. Let me finish Mumtaz's thought. Justin, I'll get to you in like a second flat. Matt, give me your thoughts on Mumtaz's super chat right here.
Why is Woody chirping? Yeah, that's what Woody does. Woody be talking. He loves to do that. I don't know. I don't about the first. Sorry, I got to reread this. 2 first-round picks for Rodgers. We should send them the pictures of the state bird. What's the state bird of New York? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's the middle finger. Flip him the bird.
Oh, okay. That's funny. See, that went over my
like
head.
that.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, don't do the 2 firsts. I like the other plan that we talked about. Conditional first next year. Day 2 pick this year.
Green Bean, any thoughts on Mumtaz's super chat right here?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I don't know. I think you got to really look at how long you think he's going to play. That's the whole thing, Mumtaz. If he's going to be here 3-4 years, yeah, I'm fine with it. If not, 1 year, no. Nope.
That's an expensive 1-year lease. Justin Crazy dropping in with a big, huge monster super chat. He says, besides tackle in the draft, what other positions would you like us to target or a trade out possibly? So let's go a little bit into this. Let's say outside of the first round included. So what positions are we kind of looking at? Now I put out my mock off season, so I'll start with mine and then we'll bounce around to you guys. First round, I'm thinking tackle. We have the 3 tackles in the first round. You have Skoronski from Northwestern, Paris Johnson from Ohio State, and you have Broderick Jones from Georgia. Those are the top 3. In the event that, all 3 are gone for the Jets at that pick, I would be looking to trade down. There's no other player in the first round that I know of right now. And I have not done a deep draft analysis, so don't take this too far. But there's no other player or position that I want to target in round 1 that I wouldn't be comfortable taking a little bit later in round 1 for someone to come up and get another player that they may want to try and snag. So I would be trying to trade down. In the second round, that's where I start to look, safety, linebacker. I want to look for someone like a center or a guard. I mentioned Ricky Stromberg earlier. And the reason I want to go that route is because they project him potentially as a guard as well, but he's a 4-year starter at center. He gave up 4 sacks his entire career. He calls out the line protections when he gets up to the line of scrimmage. And I think he provides you some stability. Like, I would bring back Connor McGovern because we mentioned consistency. Connor McGovern, at the very least, has been available and consistent for the New York Jets. Laken Tomlinson, we're stuck with his contract. Yep. So for me, give me the center that can also play guard. So in the event Tomlinson just blows next year, at least you can plug in this kid Stromberg as his replacement and then allow him to learn, figure out the offense. And as a backup center, he's going to be playing with Zach Wilson more than maybe Aaron Rodgers or someone else. So maybe building some chemistry there is not the worst thing either. Linebacker-wise, safety-wise, you can kind of go a few different directions. I threw a few names out there. Battle is a popular name. Branch is a popular name. Is it Johnson? Is it Antonio Johnson? Is that the one from A&M? I think that's what it is.
I'm scrolling through a mock right now. JL Skinner is someone that I like from Boise State. He's like a second, third round safety.
Yeah, what type of positions are you looking at? Because I think that's probably where I go. And if we're going to bring in someone else and Zach's going to be the backup, I'm probably thinking undrafted free agent, quarterback in that sort of route, I guess. I don't know. How would you handle the draft?
Yeah, I really think one of those 3 tackles are going to be there at 13. whether it's Skoronski, Johnson, or Jones, and you take one of those guys. But there's really no other spot or no other position that I'd want to take at 13. I don't really want to take a linebacker or safety that high. So if you move back and then maybe you're drafting, I don't know, Brian Branch or Trenton Simpson, the linebacker from Clemson later, okay, maybe you could sell me on that. But ideally, I'd want to take care of linebacker or safety in like the second or the third round. You mentioned center. That's another one. I think getting a center in like the second round and even potentially having them start right away. Connor McGovern, my fear with him is that he's going to cost significantly more than what he's getting paid now because of the market. I think he'd be one of the better centers on the market, and he's getting 9 now. If he goes up to 12, would you be willing to go that high? I don't think I personally would. So I'd rather go draft someone like John Michael Schmitz from, where the hell is he from? Minnesota. Would be something that I'd be interested in as well. He's probably like a second round guy. He's a 4-year starter also, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it would be nice to have that center that you could just plug right in and like forget about for the next decade. They haven't had that in a while.
Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, we got spoiled. We had Mawai, then went to Mangold, then have kind of been like running through centers until we found McGovern from Denver a few years ago. Justin, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm going to save it so when Green Bean pops in, we'll ask him as well. So you'll get your full 3-panel take here. But I don't know where Green Bean is. He did not text me. So maybe he's got some internet issues. All right. What else we got? We got Scuttlebuttle drops in, says, if Aaron Rodgers stays and the studs are gone, does Jordan Love make sense? So when you start, like, let's say Rodgers stays in Green Bay. Let's say Carr goes to Indianapolis. Jimmy G goes to Tennessee. And Brady goes to Vegas. What do you do, Matt? Where are you kind of thinking as far as quarterback? My next option is probably looking at like bringing Mike White back with Zach and then adding someone like a Gardner Minshew. Maybe a Tannehill if he's not like too much money, but he's kind of old. He's like 34. And he's I feel like his floor is a lot lower than Carr.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a disaster scenario, but I would say Tannehill. Not that I love Ryan Tannehill, I really don't. But Jordan Love to me is still too much of an unknown. He hasn't played enough for me to say, oh yeah, I definitely think he can play at this level. He's shown flashes, but that is a massive gamble. I don't know if I'm willing to take that risk. Tannehill's gotten a team to the playoffs the last couple of years, not this year, but the couple of years prior. Is he great? No. Can he hold down the fort until you figure out a long-term solution? I guess. And it wouldn't be nearly as costly as some of these other guys. So it's like if it fails, it fails and you move on. But Love is too much of an unknown, like I said.
Yeah, I think you're right on that too. And if you're Douglas and Saleh, how do you put faith in, Jordan Love? Maybe your connection with Matt LaFleur, and like how much are you going to have to give up for Jordan Love, because that plays a factor into it. There's a lot more free agents that I think provide similar upsides. Minshew's the one I always come back to because it's like, oh man, I wonder what could happen. But like I watch him on the field, I'm like, I don't think he's got it. I think he's better off with someone else. But that's like you said, it's the oh no situation. Do you think there's any no, I shouldn't say that. Do you think there's any situation the Jets take a quarterback early? Like, let's say they lose, disaster situation happens, and like of the top 3, one of the top 3 quarterbacks falls to 13. You think the Jets think about it, pull the trigger?
Maybe that's also, there's a lot of risk in that too, because then you have a rookie who's on a learning curve, and then you kind of just put yourself in that same spot. Hopefully, none of those rookies are as bad as what Zach was these last 2 years. So maybe that makes life a little bit easier for you. But like, again, then you're dealing with rookie struggles and young quarterback struggles again. So I don't know, unless the guy comes in and pops right away. We've seen it, but they haven't had the best luck with that, unfortunately.
I saw an interesting thing pop up in the chat. Where did I see it go? From It's Snoopy, Anthony Richardson. Let's say all 3 tackles are gone. There's no trade down available. What do you do? Do you reach for the linebacker or a D tackle or a safety? Or do you maybe like roll the dice on some high upside guy at quarterback? Because you're not starting Richardson year 1.
No, yeah, that's the problem.
It's a punt of a pick, I feel like, for this year.
Yes. Yep. I think you need to draft 13. If you're staying there and it's not an offensive tackle, what do you go, wide receiver? Yes.
Maybe. That's not a bad decision. It's okay.
I'm not saying that's my preferred plan. It's not, but in that circumstance, yeah, maybe. I don't know if there's a safety or a linebacker that you're going to take at 13.
Maybe there's an edge that falls or something, because JFM maybe after next year. Like, there's a few other options. Man, that would get me frustrated though. Let's see. Let's go to Jersey Abrahams. What's up, Jersey? He says Mike LaFleur is gone. Saleh needs more involvement with the offense, so whoever they hire as OC, it needs to be done quickly. Saleh and the OC can work out philosophy. I was talking to someone about this last night, and we were talking about that chicken or the egg situation where it's like, okay, do you plan the quarterback around the OC or the OC around the quarterback, and what do you kind of figure out? And where I sort of landed on this is I'm looking for an offensive coordinator that can coach the players that we currently have on the roster. That's my first and foremost move, because as we saw with Nathaniel Hackett last year, you could sign the coach and not get the quarterback. So I'm not going to bank on that. Carr's the one that if you could err on a side of like, finding someone that may fit him, I think there's a strong likelihood he could come here. Frank Reich, to me, and I know we've talked about this before, if he doesn't get a head coaching job, I mean, go out and pay whatever money you need to get Frank Reich, because I think you can plug any quarterback in with him for the most part, and he'll be able to assemble a staff around this quarterback and help Zach however he can be helped, and then, obviously an experienced play caller and whatnot. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with what you just said there at the end, where if all else fails and, he doesn't end up getting a coaching job, a head coach job, that makes all the sense in the world to do something like that. Saleh, I don't necessarily think it has to be like someone that like Mike LaFleur came with him from San Francisco. I don't necessarily think it has to be that kind of situation. I think they have to agree on philosophy, not saying that it has to be the exact replica of what Mike LaFleur did, but this new OC has to be able to sell to both Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh his plan and what they could potentially do with a quarterback, and then be all on the same page. If that's what Jersey Abrahams is saying, then yes, I agree with that. They need to be all in agreement and aligned on what they want to do with their offense and the quarterback, and kind of just go from there.
I got a hypothetical question that popped up. This one's from Champstar9669. This was actually 2 weeks ago. I didn't get to the hypothetical question last week because we had so much going on. Should the Bears trade Justin Fields? If you guys want to get your hypothetical question answered, all you got to do is drop it down below this video after it's aired, and we could possibly pull it up and discuss it here. So, should the Bears trade Justin Fields? The Bears have the number 1 overall pick. The regime that is currently in Chicago did not draft Justin Fields, so there's going to be a lot of discussion. I personally love the fact that Lovie Smith was the head coach of the Houston Texans, the former head coach of the Chicago Bears, and he won his final game to knock Houston out of the 1 pick for Chicago. It's beautiful. They fire Lovie. Lovie, I love you. That was like poetic justice. I enjoyed that. So the question, Matt, should the Jets trade Justin Fields and select a new quarterback at number 1?
No, I don't think they should. I think Fields showed you enough to try to put pieces around him. I think they should trade out of that pick and get a haul for it. I think that makes the most sense for them. They need a lot of help on that defense. Now, I don't think they should trade back that far. Like, I don't think they should trade out of the top 5. I think the Colts would make sense. I think Houston in a pick swap would make sense. But ideally, you want to be in a spot where you could still land one of the elite defensive linemen at the top of the draft. So, yes, trade out, but don't put yourself too far down.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would trade out of this pick. And I'm not a huge believer in Fields, but I'm not a huge detractor from him either. He has 3 more years left on his rookie deal. And at the very least, Lamar Jackson has provided a footprint in how you could win with a running quarterback, even though I trust Lamar's arm far more than I trust Justin Fields' arm at this particular point in time. And I do think you can trade out of that one pick, like you said, Matt, for a massive haul. I mean, you're talking like, you know, with the Texans sitting at 2 and a division rival and the Colts sitting at 4, that to me screams a hostage situation for those two teams. Like, if you're the Texans, I think you're probably giving up the number 12 overall pick to Chicago in order to move up 1 pick to prevent your division rival from beating you out for your quarterback.
Yep. No, 100%.
And that, sorry. And that 12 pick, that could very well be a tackle if that happens. That impacts the New York Jets that way then.
Oh, no, 100%. You're right, 100%. I think the Texans should trade up. I think they should do the pick swap because then you get your guy. Because more than likely, could the Bears stay there and take a quarterback? I guess they could. I don't see it as very likely, but more than likely someone's going to trade up and take a quarterback. So why not just move up the 1 spot and get your guy? I think that makes the most sense for them.
Agreed. Let's see. I'll ask Greenbean that when he gets back. Greenbean will be back. I know it. 𝐒𝐫𝐞𝐞 drops in. 𝐒𝐵oogie says, what if the Jets go after the number 1 pick? Ooh, interesting. Matt, let's pull this up. There's no situation where I want to go for the 1 pick at all. Unless Chicago says, hey, we feel really bad that you didn't take Justin Fields and you took Zach Wilson. Like, give us Zach Wilson and we'll take, you can have the 1 pick. That's it. Look, I'm kidding. That's not how that would happen. No. Let's see what is the first pick worth? Draft value chart. I gotta have this like saved. So go to it.
Yeah.
So the first pick's worth 3,000. Potentially.
That's a lot.
The Jets pick is worth 1,500, which means you would have to give up the equivalent of 3 number 13 picks just to get up to that number 1 overall pick. I think that's too far. There's no way Chicago should drop down that far. I agree with you, Matt. I think the top 5 is the farthest they should go. And realistically, I would pit Houston and Indianapolis against each other because, I mean, that just makes the most sense. If Chicago stays put, I guess Houston grabs their quarterback and then Arizona maybe, tries to get Indianapolis. I think Indianapolis and what they do at quarterback in free agency, like if they get Carr, that throws a whole wrench into the early part of the draft, I think.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think the best comparison to the Jets trading up for pick 1 would be the Rams trade up for Goff in 2016. They were pick 15, so it's 2 spots back, but they gave up. Sorry, the Rams got the first overall, a 4th round pick, and a 6th round pick. And they gave up a ton. A first, 2 seconds, a third, a 1st round pick the next year, and a 3rd round pick the next year.
So that's not too bad. I mean, if you consider like you would have made a selection at 15 anyway. So I don't really consider the pick that you're giving up to get the other pick too big of an asset. So you said it was 2 seconds, a first the following year, and then the Rams got
It was, okay, so the pick swap, 2 seconds in 2016, a 3rd in 2016, the 1st in 2017, the 3rd in 2017.
Okay, yeah, it's a lot for sure. I mean, they got to a Super Bowl because of it, and they traded that quarterback to get a Super Bowl as well. So, I mean, it works out, I guess. If you fall in love with a quarterback, why not? I'd have to look at where the Rams were in their development at that particular point in time because I think they made that trade up prior to getting Jalen Ramsey and like some of these other big cats aside from, Donald. So for me, the Jets already have all the players. I don't know if I want to wait on the rookie to develop, but when you make a selection that high, you're looking at a guy that's here for the next 10 plus years, not just for the next season. If the Jets strike out on everything, I mean, I don't know. Is there any situation where you would trade up, Matt? Like what would have to happen for you to move up? Nothing?
No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to take another
I don't want to do it
rookie
either.
quarterback. I don't want to take a rookie quarterback. I take my chances with a veteran.
So like worst case scenario, it's the Tannehill scenario for you.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't think it's going to come to that. I think they will hit on one of Rodgers or Carr or Jimmy.
Yeah, agreed. I think it'll be one of those three as well. So fingers crossed we don't even have to come to this 𝐒𝐫𝐞𝐫𝐢. I don't like having to trade for the number 1 overall pick. Let's see. What are you guys talking about in the chat? What are these guys going on about? JB says, why would the Packers trade Rodgers for a pick that don't include a first this year? They would demand it. I mean, I guess because of his contract demands and him possibly retiring after a year. He may not go for a first this year. I don't know. Because the team trading for him is going to have a massive dead cap hit regardless of what he winds up doing. So you are, in a sense, paying for that. I don't know. Green Bean, any thoughts on is there any situation where the Packers may not trade for may not need a first-round pick in this year's draft for a trade with Aaron Rodgers?
Or Rodgers? Well, I'll tell you what. If nobody's offering it, like if no one is offering it, they still need to make a move one way or the other, Love or Rodgers. So that's the only way I could see it. I think they're going to get it, honestly.
Let's see. I want to go back to Justin Crazy's comment. We had mentioned the tackles at the top of the draft, but what other positions would you look for, Green Bean? It doesn't necessarily have to be in just the first round, but we mentioned the 3 tackles: 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐿, Johnson, Jones at the top. Are those one of those guys your pick at 13? And if they're gone, what direction would you go? And how do you like the rest of the draft?
Well, I'm really hoping that we come out of this draft with, the said tackle. I also would really like a center, interior offensive line, but somebody that can legitimately play center. A safety and a defensive tackle. Those are my priorities. I know we can talk linebacker and we can talk wide receiver, of course, but I think those are the ones I'm really looking for. Safety, center, and defensive tackle. That's what I want to see get done.
I love it. I love it. Justin, thank you so much for the super chat once again. Green Bean, I brought up a hypothetical question that Matt and I kind of discussed, and we were kind of talking about this. Do you think the Bears should trade Justin Fields since they own the number 1 overall pick?
Well, I heard you, and you mentioned a key element to that, which is this isn't the regime that drafted him, So that could really apply. And look, he had some positives this year with the running, and he looks like he could, there's definitely something to work with there. But if they have the opportunity to get one of these guys and they really like them, I think that, they're definitely going to consider that. Now, what are they going to get for him? I don't know. It might not be a first.
Let's talk about that for a second, because that's interesting to me. I think if I'm looking at the overall landscape of the NFL, if there's a situation where the Ravens, I shouldn't even say that because they got rid of Greg Roman. I guess wherever Greg Roman might land might be an area that you consider for a Justin Fields type trade because of the offense he ran with Lamar Jackson. Like my thought process was like, if they trade Lamar, Fields could go right in there. They use one of the picks they got for Lamar, and you wind up getting Justin Fields. But now that Roman's out, I guess that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I don't know, Greeny. What do you think? Fields goes for? like in a trade? Or Matt, I'll ask you first. Green Bean just talked.
There you go.
Sorry, one more. So would Justin Fields go to the Ravens in this scenario? Is that what you're asking? Or
I was mentioning the Ravens, but because Roman's no longer there, it's probably not as applicable. But like, what do you think value-wise? What does Fields carry in a trade? Is it a first-round pick? Is it more than that? Is it less than that?
Yeah, definitely a first. I would say definitely a first-round pick. I don't think it's a monster haul, but I would say a first probably would make sense for him. Now, the thing with both Fields and Lamar, that they get linked with the Greg Roman thing, because Lamar obviously played under him, but neither of those quarterbacks were like just specifically run quarterbacks in college. They did play a little bit more pro style. I think part of it was the circumstances they were put in. So I'm almost looking forward to see Lamar with a different OC to see how much his game changes, if at all. And with Justin Fields with more weapons, I don't think we'll run as much. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But as in terms of what the cost would actually be for something like Justin Fields, hard to say, but I would think a first rounder would make sense.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it, you're almost weighing Justin Fields plus whatever haul we get for the one pick, or the one pick plus the pick we get for Fields, which one works better? And I would argue the Bears' overall team is in need of some repair more so than needing a quarterback. But Green Bean, I want to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think Justin Fields is worth in a trade? And, how much should they weigh in on the, not drafting him and such?
Yeah, I mean, I would think he's worth a first. I mean, there's lots of talent there. But whether or not they're going to get it, I mean, a lot of teams might not, be, really looking for what he brings to the table. I mean, he struggled with, his arm, and he was like breaking records on the ground. But that's not exactly what everybody's looking for. So I don't know, man. I think they could get a first, like was said in that clip you showed earlier. The demand exceeds the stock, right? So that could raise his value. But honestly, I think some teams are going to be hesitant. As talented as he is, I think some teams are going to be hesitant, so they might not be able to get that first.
Yeah, it may not be worth them to move him based on how much of a haul they could potentially get for that number one pick. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, you guys see the, I think it was the Athletic Writers Association or whatever, putting out their MVP votings for Rookie of the Year, and Sauce got Defensive Rookie of the Year, overall Rookie of the Year, and Garrett Wilson got Offensive Rookie of the Year. Do you think those awards match what the actual awards are going to end up being? Because that was not the official awards. That was just, one section of it. Matt, I'll throw it to you first.
It should. It damn well should.
You're damn right it should.
Yeah. I think of the two, Sauce is more likely to win Defensive Rookie of the Year than Garrett Wilson is to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. If I had to pick just one, I hope both get it. I think both are deserving, but I think Kenneth Walker is going to end up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Do you think that Brock Purdy should win Offensive Rookie of the Year or Rookie of the Year given what he's done to this point?
No, not enough. Not enough time.
Really? If you consider Garrett Wilson possibly enough, given the stats he showed in the limited amount of games, like, don't you think like the 6 or 7 games we got from Purdy, could at least justify it? I mean, considering he's like 6-0.
I mean, then give the award to Breece Hall.
That's fair, right? Like, that short amount of time. I guess you got to, interesting. I don't know. I should put, you know what? If I make a poll question, it's going to be all slanted Jets anyways. So I can't say should Brock Purdy get Rookie of the Year. You know what? Let's do this. Let's do a poll question that is, should Brock Purdy be considered for Offensive Rookie of the Year? Or let's say we'll do who deserves Offensive Rookie of the Year. And we're going to say Kenneth Walker or Brock Purdy. Because we all know Garrett Wilson does deserve it. Let's be honest. It's got to be the only option.
Yeah, I would think if you were making a top, or if I was making a top three, it would be Wilson, Walker, and Olave would be my top three.
Wilson, Walker, and Olave. Yeah, I think because, God, it just sucks. Because I think Garrett Wilson would have won it, factoring out Breece Hall, obviously, because I think Breece Hall would have won it. But if you just have any other quarterback play in the center of the schedule, like Garrett Wilson is a runaway favorite for this award. Like as much as Kenneth Walker, I think probably deserves it maybe more based on what he put on the field. I have a hard time looking at Garrett Wilson and not thinking like, man, he's so much more, not so much more, but like he's really, really impressive.
No doubt.
And talk about the Seattle Seahawks and the Jets both having phenomenal drafts. I mean, you could argue offensive and defensive rookie of the year for both teams.
Yeah, which is impressive. To me, those two by far had the best draft. The Ravens draft class was really good also, but man, Seattle and the Jets, both of them, man, unreal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The early votes for who deserves offensive rookie of the year more in the live chat. We've only got 68 votes right now. 68% of you guys are saying Kenneth Walker, 32% say Brock Purdy. I'd imagine some of that has to fall on the team that surrounds Brock Purdy more so than the team that surrounds Kenneth Walker.
Yes.
I think that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. We'll continue to have that up, and we will get Green Bean's thoughts when he gets back. Daniel Bloom drops in, says, Rodgers said today he still feels under attack by Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, specifically for his vaccine comments. Would he accept the trade to play for Johnson's? Don't the Johnsons not own Johnson & Johnson anymore? Isn't that like I don't think they're the baby powder kings anymore.
I don't know, but money talks. And I think if they were willing to pay that contract, I think he would still play.
Yeah, now I gotta look this up because I know they were forever, but like I don't think they currently own it. Yeah, I don't think they do. Chat, let us know if that's in there at all. I don't even see Woody Johnson listed on here.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I'm not sure. J&J is a public company, says Adam S. Yeah, I don't know the answer to this one, but I'm almost positive they don't actually own Johnson & Johnson. I'm not sure this will actually be an issue. No. But, an interesting thought. Could off the field things possibly influence a player's decision to sign with a team? Yeah, absolutely. I think they definitely could. I don't know if it necessarily... I think it depends on what it is. I mean, we saw it with the Deshaun Watson stuff, right? Like, that was all off the field, and clearly teams stayed away. The Jets would have been first in line for Watson had it not been for those allegations.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's going to play a factor for some, and I get that. I totally do. A little different, the Watson and Rodgers one. Like, one is legally, the other is...
That's true. Maybe...
more of a personal stance, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you'd probably need I guess Watson was trying to get out of Houston because of the owner. So I think, yes, there is something for, players not wanting to play for certain players because of certain things. Now, Watson was claiming racism, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or some kind of unfair treatment initially when he had his contract demands, and then I think everything sort of went sideways and it sort of got away from that entire conversation. I I mean, we've seen other players leave. I guess they don't pick cities because of maybe pressures on the outside. Like, people won't pick New York because of taxes, more so than I think whatever Woody's, preferences are. Like, I don't know. I don't think Woody's affiliation or stances on anything are going to prevent us from signing a quarterback if we're the highest value. I think there's other factors that would come into play first. Like, maybe I don't want to play in New York City. I don't want to pay the taxes. And I think those are more impactful than whatever Woody does.
Well, and people also tried to make, just to throw the opposite side of the coin on it. People tried to say that players might not want to play for Woody when he was serving as the ambassador because he was serving under President Trump, but that didn't really seem to make a difference. So I think people read too much into this stuff. I don't think it's going to really matter. It's money talks, and if they're going to pay him the best, and hell, with New York, you're going to get your marketing opportunities. So I think you would.
Yeah, that's just it too. I mean, I guess when I look at my own personal life, if I'm applying for a job, I'm applying for the position that I think I'm qualified for at the rate that I think I'm qualified to achieve. I could give two shits what the owner of the company does for the most part. I mean, if he does something clearly outrageous, then you probably just don't apply to that job.
Yeah.
But by and large, I think Rodgers will sign wherever he feels he has the best shot to win MVPs, which I think is an interesting conversation. And I think Green Bean brought it up at one point. Do you think there's more of a focus for Rodgers winning an MVP than there is for him winning a Super Bowl?
No, he has already won 2 MVPs pretty recently, but I think him getting that second Super Bowl is pretty important for his legacy. I mean, at the end of his career, Peyton Manning, in a similar spot, went to a new team, ended up winning a second Super Bowl with another team, and I think that really makes a big difference. The 1 Super Bowl versus 2, I mean, Brady and the Patriots just completely threw such a wrench. Yeah, skew where everyone has these unrealistic expectations where 1 Super Bowl isn't enough anymore. And even sometimes it's you scoff at Peyton Manning's 2. That's not incredibly impressive also. But I think the second Super Bowl would make a big difference for him.
Real quick, we'll get back to the second Super Bowl and whatnot. Harry W says Johnson is the billionaire heir to the Johnson & Johnson fortune, but that doesn't say if he's still involved with it. And then a little further down, Thomas Pohl says no Johnsons hold any positions on the board of directors for Johnson & Johnson. So yeah, that's what I kind of thought. But yeah, going back to Rodgers and winning that second Super Bowl, I don't view Rodgers as... Do you think Rodgers should take less money if he's more serious about a Super Bowl, or should he take the same money that he thinks he's worth because that's what he's worth? Do you think he has to follow the Tom Brady mold, or should he follow the same mold that he's kind of always followed? Because he's not one to take a discount. That's kind of what we've seen over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make a good case for him to take a discount and be like, hey, I'm going to, if you really want to add to that legacy, you do it. But at the same time, it's just weird because in any other profession, it's why would I take less money to work that, under my market value? That seems wrong. So I have a hard time saying that a player should try to take less money for themselves. It's just, it's weird, but I mean, you can make a case for it if he's very serious about winning that second ring. But someone will trade for this contract, I think, to an extent. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to rework some of the things more the last 2 years on the deal that are more like void years anyway. But I think they'll figure something out.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Rodgers played more than 2 years. I think if you're mulling over retirement for, I think it's the last 3 years now, I don't think you drag it out another 2. And for those of you that have been bitching to me about Brett Favre and how that worked out for the New York Jets, let me drop some knowledge on you. 8-3 and first place in the AFC, number 1 seed with a first round bye and home field throughout when Brett Favre tore his biceps. And then the following year had his best statistical season he ever had. Sign me up for Aaron Rodgers all damn day if it's going to be something similar to Brett Favre. I just got to hope that, look, Brett Favre didn't miss a game like his entire career. He comes to the Jets, tears his biceps, and misses his first game ever. Aaron Rodgers has played every game the last 5 years. I'm going to take the same, roll of the dice that he's not going to get injured through these next 2 years, paying the monster contract.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people point to that with the Favre, but people forget where they were before the injury, and they just look at the end result and say, well, he threw a bunch of picks. Well, yeah, I mean, he did, but at the end of the year, he was playing hurt. Should he have played through hurt? Probably not. But yeah, 8-3, number 1 seed. It makes sense to take a swing like that.
Yeah, for sure. I would not let Favre prevent me from signing Aaron Rodgers. Now, the trade compensation, I do feel like at this point in time is different than where it was in 2007 or 8, whenever that season was when we had Favre, because quarterbacks have just seemed to have exploded in value. Look at 2015, right? Like we had Favre in 2008. In 2015, the price, or no, I'm sorry, not even 2015, 2012. So just a few years after that, Peyton Manning leaves the Colts, signs as the highest paid quarterback at $19 million a year. So Peyton Manning, looking for another ring, signs the highest paid quarterback contract in 2012. Aaron Rodgers could definitely follow that same, sort of footprint.
He could. Yeah, he definitely could. And look, he made it work too. Man, he didn't win his first, 3 years with them, but that last final year, he finally made it. Isn't it ironic? Because people point out like quarterback play, but 2015 is 7 years ago? 8 years ago? Peyton Manning stunk that last year. That was that essentially be like having Zach Wilson playing quarterback. Not really, because he has, the smarts were there. Yeah, but you know the point I'm trying to make. He statistically not the same guy at all. So yeah, I don't remember where I was going with that, but just wanted to toss that in the mix too.
No, I mean, it's interesting to think about too. I mean, you think about how fast elite quarterbacks fall off a map. And that's the concern you do have with someone like a Tom Brady or like an Aaron Rodgers. These guys are getting up there in years, and whenever it happens, it seems to happen pretty quick. Peyton Manning was slinging the rock for 50+ touchdowns, and then couldn't dry himself off with a towel if he tried. That's what it looked like the final season there. Dude, it was bad. It's a risk for sure. And I think that's why I still fall. Regardless of how things happen, I still want Derek Carr. I know Rodgers gives you a lot of hope, but for me, I don't know. I guess Carr and Rodgers are probably the two options that are realistic that give a lot of at least 2 years leeway for Saleh and Douglas. I think that is the time frame they're working with. And I think with Rodgers, you could get more because you're probably drafting another quarterback and giving them the additional year after Rodgers leaves, assuming he plays the 2 years with us, to kind of see what they have in a quarterback. I don't know. Matt, is there a preference that you have between Carr and Rodgers?
Carr, I think, is safer. Not necessarily better, but I think that is a safer or the safest move because of what you would have to give up and pay and what you're going to for Carr, might not have to trade anything, but if you were to trade something for him, probably a day 2 pick is going to be maybe a middle of the pack quarterback, where if you're trading for Rodgers, you take into the risk that he's almost 40 years old. You might have to give up multiple firsts. All that stuff. And Lamar is even more than that, and the potential injury history. So I think Carr is the quote unquote safe play. I like Carr. I would be fine if that's the direction that they wanted to go, but I also understand if they wanted to take a bigger swing than that.
Scuttlebottle drops in, says, Ryan Favre didn't miss a game with the Jets. Is that true? I thought he did not start the final game of the season. I thought we broke his streak.
Nope. He started every game. He just played hurt the last month.
Did we pull him the final series? Are you sure? I'm 90%. I'm almost positive the Jets
attempted 40 passes against Miami last week of the year.
maybe he didn't play every snap. Maybe that's what it was.
Okay, let's see. Miami.
Was
Brett
that week?
Favre.
I thought for sure.
Well, if you want to count Brad Smith completing a pass, but I'm sure that was a trick play.
Nah, man, I thought for sure he didn't play the final game of that season.
Let's see. Kellen Clemens attempted 5 passes on the season. Brad Smith 2. Other than that, Brett Favre 522.
All right, so I guess I'm wrong. Hey, it is what it is. Matt, I'm going to switch you over to over here.
There we go.
Because Green Bean's not coming back with us. Green Bean, feel better. Keep your fluids up. Yeah, who knows? Oh man, I had some good thoughts in here. Where did I have it saved? Michael Murphy says, "Hey, so with Breece Hall back, what are we doing with Michael Carter? I need Bam Bam as the second running back." Yeah, I think you have Carter and Bam Knight as your next 2 running backs. You know, where you put them, like if you want to put Carter as number 2 just because he kind of is the MVP, not the MVP, but like the captain. And I don't know I don't know. Is Carter a captain? He feels like he's the vocal captain. He's the voice in the locker room.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely well liked and respected. I don't like the idea of putting labels on it. Like, I don't think you have to be like, oh, this is our RB2 and this is our RB3.
Agreed.
Some weeks Carter might get more carries than Bam. Other weeks it might be Bam more than Carter. But if they're your 3 running backs with Hall back in the mix too, I think that's more than okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those situations where you don't label it. I feel like it's like it's that girlfriend you have that asks if we should be boyfriend, girlfriend. What are we? You don't have to worry about that. You can have all 3 and you can provide all the touches you want to any of them. Take that for what you will. Let's see. Kevin Chattis says, Carr can be had soon. Rodgers will be had after June. Easy decision. Yeah, I do wonder what the decision winds up being and if there's any impact, because for Rodgers, it does seem like it would be after June 1st, unless he tried to renegotiate and maybe move some money around, because he's going to have far less options if he's traded after June 1st than before, especially when you're considering like, okay, Bakhtiari is going to get cut. Where does he sign free agency? Alan Lazard gets cut. Where does he sign free agency? Like, Rodgers is going to want to know where he's going to end up, I think, before free agency starts. And I think there's going to be some type of agreement, whether it's a restructuring from Rodgers that facilitates the trade or like a handshake agreement between the Packers and the other team that gets that trade done. I think you'll know where Rodgers is going to be well before June 1st.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think they're going to have to do something, because then what team is waiting that long for Rodgers to be their plan A? You can't go into you're getting a month out from training camp essentially at that point. That's crazy.
Yeah, it gets concerning, especially with all the salary cap maneuvering that you're going to have to wind up doing. And you want to have the benefit of having Aaron Rodgers and maybe having players take less money. Like, I think you could go to CJ Mosley and say, hey, look, we're trying to win a Super Bowl these next 2 years. While you're here, we want you to retire a Jet. Let's restructure your contract. Let's bring back the 2 linebackers that you've worked with last year. You worked with Quincy the last 2 years. Let's bring them back. We're going to save some money. We're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers. We're going to add all these extra pieces. I think that's how you get guys to kind of save money and move along. If you bring Rodgers in June, I don't know if you necessarily get that. I mean, you could always restructure, I guess, but then you're not getting the benefit of signing other players with the money that you would have saved from those restructurings.
Yeah, wouldn't that be like one of your biggest bargaining chips, to get 1, people to restructure, and then 2, in free agency? It's like, hey, come play with Aaron Rodgers. We're loading up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Thomas Hewitt says, we got a 2-year window with this young team. We need Rodgers. That's the benefit of a Rodgers, is because we have so much young talent. Aside from Quinnen getting paid either this offseason or next, depending on how they decide to work it, you're looking at probably the next players to get longer term deals are the players from the 2021 draft. So guys like AVT, deciding on Zach's 5th-year option after next season. Elijah Moore, I would imagine in the situation where you get Aaron Rodgers, you're probably letting Elijah Moore walk after the 2024 season, Because it would be what, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah. So it'd be, you wouldn't renegotiate with him. I don't think, based on everything that's kind of happened. But again, that's 2 years down the road. You could still re-sign him before he hits free agency in 2025. And I agree with the money you're looking at. AVT will be on his 4th year. He'll have his 5th year option left still in 2025, right? 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
Yeah, yep.
So AVT will be on his 5th year option in 2025 when the big $60 million dead cap hit is supposed to hit. And Matt, you brought it up before. You could spread that over 2 years if you designate him a June 1st retiree or cut or whatever. But either way, all these young players that we have, the money is not going to kick in, the big money, until after their rookie contracts. They'll get paid and they'll have the guarantees and everything, but they will structure it in such a way that you get the benefit of having those cheap rookie contracts. So yeah, 2 year window for Rodgers, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you could arguably say something similar with Carr. I mean, you could let him, if you're giving him like, say, a 3 year contract fully guaranteed, you could, in theory, I guess, see what you have in Zach after 3 years. And if you don't like him, then you don't exercise the 5th year option, or you cut Zach, and then you draft a quarterback maybe in 2025. Or no, would it be 25, 22? No, 3, 4. Yeah, you draft one in 24 to sit for 1 year behind Carr, I think, in that sort of situation. Young team, window. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. That's the window is now because of all these guys on their deals. You got to start giving them their money in a few years' time, but over the next 2 or 3 years, they're all going to be on cheap deals well under their market value. Now's really the only time that you could splurge and, do it on a different position.
Yeah, and with what Thomas is saying too, Rodgers almost provides you a better value because he is gone in 2 years, where Carr might be here longer than that.
Yep.
And you could probably have like a Zach versus rookie quarterback competition in 2025, where you're probably not doing that with Carr. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because they both provide such different things. Like Rodgers has the upside of being the 4-time MVP, where Carr, you don't have to trade for him, or less likely to have to give up a lot.
Yeah, no, 100%. And if you want to go through the route of Rodgers for 2 years, you sit Zach behind Rodgers and then maybe give him another kick at the can in 2024, 25, then that might be your best selling point on actually trying to develop and grow him.
This is interesting. Say to God is he says, I'm a Raiders fan, but show mad love for the Jets and hate the Bills. And overrated ass Josh can't get it done, Allen. So, to God, I want you to comment. How do you feel about Derek Carr? Because as a Raiders fan, I would love to know your insight, having watched all those games. And give me, I feel like Raiders fans feel like Carr was done dirty this year.
Yep. And
I would want to gamble on that, but I want to hear what your input has to say. So if you see something, there it goes. Okay. Let's see. Udagod says, Carr had Waller, Renfro, the best number 1 wide receiver in Adams, and the best running back in Jacobs, and didn't get it done. To that argument, he did not have all of them on the field at the same time. That would be the argument for there. Do you subscribe to the thought process that McDaniels submarined the Raiders season because he did not want Carr? Give me that answer in the chat.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't
know.
No.
Well, Matt, do you think that the Raiders submarined the season? They lost 3 games by after leading by 17 points, and they're 3-5 after having like leads in 2-score games or something like that.
I think it was just a happy little coincidence that this was able to happen for them. And look, McDaniels likes to get his own guys in there. I think it's a little frustrating for them for sure, but I put it more on the defense and the coaching than Carr.
Yeah, that's kind of where I fall on this as well. I'm excited. I'm going to have Wi-Fi Willie. For those of you guys that have heard me talk about the conspiracy theory about the Raiders and Josh Allen and everything, Wi-Fi Willie was the one that put out that video that I've kind of talked about a little bit more. And one of my close friends who's a Raiders fan has sent me his videos and was like, yo, I'm telling you, this is what's going on. And I was like, okay, I believe you. Let me talk to him. Let's see what we got. So I'm going to try and link up with him so we can put together a collab and hear what he has to say about the Raiders. Blitz Crew drops in, says, I get Rodgers is Zach's idol. Is their play style similar enough to be a mentor? Any question options with a more similar style play style? Any question options with more similar play style? I do think Rodgers and Zach are similar. I think Zach probably modeled his game after growing up watching Rodgers. Even just watching the two of them play, it seems like, you know, the flick of the wrist, the ball's down the field. They like getting out of the pocket. I think Zach's probably a little more elusive from like a running standpoint than Rodgers is, where Rodgers has more of the pocket presence to slide around the pocket. Not that he's not mobile. He definitely is. But yeah, I think at the very least, Zach could sit and watch what Rodgers does, see how he prepares and all that. I don't know. I think for me, I think Zach will be fine behind Rodgers. There's some personality traits that would be more of a concern, more so than the play style. Matt, your thoughts on Blitzcrew's comment here?
No, I think stylistically, that's exactly what Zach is trying to be. That guy who can move out of the pocket and extend plays and has a bazooka for an arm. That's why he was getting in the pre-draft process the comparisons to Rodgers and Mahomes. Obviously, that's very lofty comparisons, but stylistically, it's that gunslinger, big arm, can make plays, extending plays, going out of the pocket. So yeah, I think Rodgers would be a good fit and a better fit than a Jimmy G or Derek Carr in terms of from just the mentor perspective, because I think he is closer to Zach's game than Carr, Jimmy G, or Lamar.
I completely agree. OC to God says, I believe in Josh McDaniels. Look at those games and how Carr couldn't throw touchdowns in the second half of those games. He says Wi-Fi Willie is a Carr lover, so he will be biased towards Carr. The Raiders' cap space this year for offense was $107 million. The defense was $60 million. And most of that $60 million went to Max and Chandler Jones. So that's a weird thing to look at because you're factoring in $30 million from your quarterback at one position on the offense. So when you factor out the quarterback, it's closer to $70 million, $60 million. But I understand what you're saying with a lot of money going to the two edge rushers. Yeah, look, the Raiders have a lot of issues on defense. I think that much is clear. They've had those issues since Carr has been there. But I guess my question is he a stat pad or is he somewhere closer to Kirk Cousins? Because if he's closer to the Kirk Cousins side of things, I'm 100% on board. I think you can win with Kirk Cousins. I think it's just, I don't know if it's necessarily Kirk's fault they haven't won in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And are we sure the interior of that offensive line is any good on the Raiders? Like, he's not a very mobile quarterback, so you need to have a strong offensive line there. Yes, the weapons are there. Jacobs good, Adams good, Waller good, Renfro a nice slot, but I don't know, man. I just look at some of the things there and the comeback victory stat where it's like, doesn't he have the most comebacks in the league over the last 3 years?
He has the most comebacks in the league since 2014. I think it's 33. I think Stafford is 30. I think I saw Lamar up there and Cousins was the other one. The argument against that is that if Carr had his team winning, he wouldn't have to come from behind. That's why you don't see GOATs like Rodgers, Breeze, or Brady in those conversations because they have their team winning more so than not. So it's a weird stat for sure. I think it's good. I think it does also reflect a little bit of how poor the defense has been since he's been there and he's had to come back. But it's not quite as cut and dry as saying like, he's super clutch because he has the most comebacks because, whatever. I'm pretty sure. Oh, you know what? I think it was Carr 33, Stafford 30, Cousins 28. And then I want to say it was like Lamar 27, but I don't remember who that fourth person was.
Yeah, I only just found this game day graphic. It says since 2015, most game-winning drives in the NFL, Carr with 29, and most fourth-quarter comebacks in the NFL, Carr 23.
It's certainly not a bad stat to have. I'll say that much. Pedro drops in and says, we need Carr. We give up less. I want consistent playoff team. If Rodgers can't do it in 2, we're rebuilding again. Our defense better than the Raiders. Yeah, our defense is definitely better than the Raiders. Their pass rushers are elite. Chandler Jones and Max Crosby were absolutely filthy. I would love to have those guys on this team. Now, as far as we're a consistent playoff team, you could argue that the Raiders have not been a consistent playoff team with Carr. And can the Jets sustain a top offense, paying a quarterback and whatnot? I think they can. I think we've hit so well on our young players that it's not going to be an issue. And I don't necessarily mind if you go with Rodgers and rebuild in 2 years, because like I mentioned, you can exercise Zach's 5th-year option if you believe that Rodgers is going to play 16 games or 17 games each of these next 2 years. The only way that 5th-year option is guaranteed is for injury. So Zach Wilson would have to not be able to pass a physical in March of 2025, I guess. And if he doesn't pass that physical, then you're on the hook for his 5th-year option. You would basically be using him as quarterback that year. That would be the worst case scenario in that situation. But like what the Packers did this year, they signed Jordan Love to his 5th-year option because they saw enough behind the scenes. Now, with Zach, it's not an apples-to-apples comparison because we saw 20-plus games from Zach Wilson where he was not good, where the Packers did not see that from Jordan Love. But because we have so much invested, you remember the Packers traded up to get Love in the 20s. The Jets took Wilson with the number 2 overall pick. You're got to pay Zach anyway. You might as well sit here for 2 more years and allow him to kind of, grow, develop, exercise his 5th-year option. But if you're in a situation that final year, that 2024 year, and you've already made the determination halfway through the season that Zach isn't the guy, then you put in your 3rd-string quarterback, kind of ish like the Raiders did, where you don't want to guarantee the next year of contract because of injury. That's what you would wind up doing, I think. Matt, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think how you kind of just spelled it out makes a lot of sense there. And hopefully, there's no way to know now, but hopefully it would be the best thing for Zach to sit. I get what Pedro's saying here with need to get Carr, be giving up less, and the consistent playoff team. I get that. I'm not anti-Carr. I like Carr a lot. With Rodgers, it allows you to take a bigger swing at the quarterback position because let's face it, Carr, even the people who are highest on Carr, they don't put him in the same level as Rodgers because he's not.
Sure.
And then it also allows you to potentially go back to Zach or a different young quarterback that you've stashed behind there and go from there. So I don't think it would be a complete rebuild if it doesn't work in 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. And even still, like if you don't like what you have in Zach, you draft the quarterback and you hit the reset button anyway because you have all the guys that you love on your team right now are getting paid high contracts. So you have to go back to the rookie quarterback route while you're paying those guys, assuming you don't want to like trade all them for like draft picks and then try to go back to the quarterback again. I don't think the Jets will do that. I think they'll go vet quarterback now, whether that be Carr or Rodgers, and then eventually go back to the rookie route or some type of grooming route behind one of those quarterbacks. Pedro also drops in and says, we lost too many games by very little with zero offense. Carr and Hall will score and our defense will close out the rest. I think you can plug in almost any quarterback to this Jets team and you'll have success more than the Jets. If you get top half of the league play, we were talking about if you had like below average quarterback play instead of 33rd or 34th ranked quarterback play in Zach Wilson, the Jets are probably a playoff team. So if I'm getting top half of the league, which is what you're doing if you're signing someone like a Jimmy G or a Rodgers or a Lamar or a Carr, I think you're definitely getting that.
Yeah, 1,000%. I agree, 1,000%. Even if it was, like you said, on the lower end, the Carr or the Jimmy G or someone like that, they will be good enough to be a playoff team. It's just really, and it all goes back to how big of a swing you want to take. Like I understand why Joe Douglas and or the Johnsons would want to take a big swing on a Rodgers or a Lamar to maximize this team's ceiling. I get it.
Talking Jets with Tigo drops in. What's up, Tigo? How you doing? He says, outside of the quarterback, which we all want the Jets to make a big splash on, what position would you want the Jets to make a big splash on, and why is it safety? Tigo. Interesting. I feel like for our defense, the area we could most improve is safety because of the way we lost on those over-the-top type plays throughout the year. Now, as far as outside of quarterback, I couldn't give two shits about the defense. I don't care about what happens on the defense. We have done enough for the defense. I don't care if you have undrafted free agents playing both safety positions and all three linebacker positions if you had to. I would rather invest that second thought after quarterback to the offensive line. That's my thought. You need to get the quarterback right. As much as I love having a top 5 defense, if I have a top 15 defense with the pressure that our front four can generate and the takeaway potential that our secondary can have based on the pressure that's created with that front four, if you're consistently putting teams in a position where they have to constantly throw on you and they're not running or doing those dump-off type passes, I think you're going to be just fine. So I like the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line is where I'm focusing second after quarterback. What about you, Matt?
Yep, 1,000%. You hit it on the head. You have to figure out offensive tackle, potentially center as well. I think you know who your two guards are going to be next year in Tomlinson and AVT. Safety is definitely something that I want to improve. Safety and linebacker are really the two spots on the defense that I think need the most attention. It doesn't need a massive splash. I think you could do a draft pick in the second or third round and a mid-tier free agent, and that would be a massive improvement.
Yeah, I don't think I want to spend big on linebacker or safety in free agency at all. Like, for me, whatever money you save from restructuring CJ Mosley, which I think is about $10 million, if I could pay Quincy Williams and Quan Alexander each $4 million, now that's 3 times or 4 times the amount that Quan got this year, and I believe that's over 2 times or 3 times the amount that Quincy got this year. So $4 million each a year, and you bring back CJ Mosley. I like that a lot more. And then I like the idea of going with the safety in the draft. I think if you go in the second round with a safety, you're getting a starting caliber player. I mean, you look at the all-rookie team this year, Jalen Petrie and Kyle Hamilton, 2 really good rookies. Now, obviously, Kyle Hamilton taken in the middle part of the first round. Petrie, I believe, was a 3rd-round pick, if I'm... Was it end of the second?
I think it was end of the second.
Was he Houston? Is that where he ended up going? So I think it was top of the second or top of the third, I think, is where he wound up going. I don't exactly remember. But, yeah, Tigo, I like what you're talking about. But sorry, offensive line for me. Blitz Crew says, any punters worth a pick this year? No, we're not even going to go into that because I would rather sign a free agent punter or go undrafted free agent, not drafting a punter.
He's picked 37, by the way. I just looked it up because it was bothering me. Jalen
37.
Was 37. Okay. Yeah.
Top of the second round. Oh, so we traded in front of Houston to get Breece Hall because Breece Hall was going to go to Houston and they took Petrie. Is that what wound up going? And then 2 picks later, I think Walker went, or a few picks later, Walker went. I think that's how it wound up shaking out.
Yep.
Joe S. drops in, says, getting Aaron Rodgers is like when the Rangers got Messier. I think you can 100% win with someone like Rodgers in a short window, and I think the Jets have the cap space to be able to devote to that type of contract right now because it's not going to impact you in the seasons that you're trying to compete in. Like we said earlier today, $15 million from Rodgers this year, $32 million next year. If you're signing Derek Carr, you're probably paying him $33 million a year, if not more than that. So you're getting Aaron Rodgers for less than you would get for Carr aside from the draft picks. And if you're going all in on a Super Bowl, why not give up the picks to get Aaron Rodgers in this type of situation? So, Joe, I agree. I think there's a very cool value in going after Rodgers, and it allows you to possibly have the next 5 to 10 years if Zach does pan out to like really, really take off. Because what Rodgers provides you is something that the NFL has lost. And you don't get to allow a quarterback to sit and learn because of those rookie contracts. And if you could get a Rodgers, it allows you to do just that. And I think there is some value in that, especially after you've put such a high investment into Zach Wilson. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I get it. Like the analogy is getting a guy who still has something to prove at the end of his career, and it works and it clicks. And that was the missing piece that they needed to win a championship. I hope that would be the case if you were landing an Aaron Rodgers. It feels like the Jets are really missing that quarterback. So maybe that would really be the thing that put him over.
Let's see. What did I just saw something in here. Ooh, this is scary. Kevin Chattis says, better analogy is Rodgers like Durant and Kyrie with smaller window of winning. God, that would suck. That would be awful. I don't like Kyrie.
Well, no, he's one of them. I don't really follow basketball, but he seems extremely unlikable. I don't know. There's only 5 players on a field at a time for basketball, and how big are the rosters? 12. I don't know if that's fair. The Nets they completely rebuilt it and went veteran route. It's not like they had a ton of young talent, at least from my understanding. I don't know.
Finger Lakes drops in with a nice thing. Rams afforded Donald, Stafford, Kupp, Ramsey, Beckham Jr., Robert Woods, and Allen Robinson. The Jets should be able to afford stuff. That's what I've been saying. The cap is a myth. It doesn't actually exist. It's like chemtrails and flat earth. It's all real. Lizard people, my friend. The cap is part of that conspiracy theory. It's like, oh, God. I don't know what the hell's going on. Look, I think you can make some really cool cap things happen without crippling yourself too much. I mean, look at the Jets just in 2021. We carried $75 million of our $200 million salary cap on IR, and we had $35 million in dead cap. The Jets were playing with half a roster last year. Like, you're not last year, but 2 years ago. Last year, less so. You had more of your contract and whatnot, and the Jets looked better because of it. When you don't play with all your salary cap, that's a huge issue. Now, I've seen people say, oh, you can't devote that much money to a quarterback. Well, you can devote that much money to a quarterback and you can win, but you just have to hit on some of your other areas, and it does create a thinner margin of error. Absolutely. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think looking at the amount of money that's left on IR and the money that's left in dead cap from bad contracts, that adds up to a higher number than the detriment of whatever quarterback you sign.
That is a great point. I think the amount of injuries that they've had and the amount of money that's been on IR and, important draft picks, all that stuff plays a factor. But kind of just to piggyback off of what a Finger Lakes is saying here, you should be able to afford talent. And on top of that, the Jets have young talent that aren't costing nearly as much as a Donald, Stafford, Kupp, Ramsey, Beckham Jr., Woods, all those guys. So you figure it out. You just got to.
Yeah, I mean, let's go through the list that Finger Lakes has here and even consider, like, who would take up the money. Aaron Donald, you got to figure Quinnen Williams is going to be almost $10 million cheaper. You're probably thinking he's going to get around $22 million as opposed to $32 million that Donald's getting. So that's a $10 million savings there. Stafford's probably going to get more than Carr, probably less than Rodgers, but cap hit wise won't be as big of an issue. I don't know what Kupp's deal is, but the Jets don't have any receivers that are going to be remotely close to that. Ramsey, we have no corners remotely close to that because Reed is our highest paid corner, and I think he's somewhere around 8 or 9 or 10, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Beckham Jr., wide receiver wise, I don't know what he took with the Rams, but we're going to cut Corey Davis and have an additional $10.5 million to spend on a wide receiver if we want to, like an Allen Lazard, which is what Spot Track claims his market value to be. And then Robert Woods and Allen Robinson, I don't know what their contracts are, but either way, we got Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. So yeah, those are far bigger contracts. Now, the Rams are going to run into some more dead cap down the road because they've, I don't think they've made a pick in the first round since 2000. I don't think they've made a pick since Goff in the first round. I think 2015 or 16, whenever that was.
That was 16. Was that the last one?
I think it was because they traded 2 for Ramsey, 2 for Stafford, and they gave up at least 1 for Marcus Peters, I think, didn't they? Or did Peters go the other way? Did Peters go to the Ravens for a first? Now I don't know. I don't think they've made a pick since Goff in the first round.
You're right. You're right. They haven't.
That's crazy. Wow. But the other nice thing about Douglas, right? Like if we're talking about, like, for me, I look at Douglas's draft history and I look at the first 2 rounds. You are a good GM if you hit on 50% of your first 2 picks. Douglas, if you consider Zach Wilson, Denzel Mims, and Mekhi Becton, all 3 of them busts, Joe Douglas is 70%. So for me, if you're giving away 3 picks and you're looking at the value that Douglas can provide in undrafted free agents that he has brought in waiver wire claims, in late round draft picks, the talent acquisition or the talent recognition that Douglas has gives me more confidence to give up more of those premium picks because I think we can make it up on the back end. You just lose that 1 year of contractual control, and then obviously, you know, your 32 picks quality-wise worse in the player department potentially.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. And it's interesting to see how the Rams were able to do that and survive. Like, just looking back, they had guys who served pretty important roles on that team that were taking, you know, Cooper Kupp was a 3rd round pick in 2017. They also had Van Jefferson played a role on that team. He was a 2nd rounder. They were able to find value outside of the 1st round, which is, you know, important to drafting. And you're right. That's a good point bringing up with the miss rate on these guys. It's not easy. You're not going to have 100% hit rate. It helps if you're able to. I think his biggest flaw, his being Douglas's biggest flaw so far, has been free agency. I think if he shores that up a little bit, then there's no reason that, you know, the Jets can't be competitive for next year with the addition of a big quarterback.
I completely agree with you, Matt. Matt, I'm going to have you go to last week's Talkin' Jets panel. I actually have no idea if Green Bean has any qualifiers.
I don't believe so.
I don't know if he's taken any. I mean, here, you look up those 5. I'll text Green Bean.
Okay.
All right, we'll see what he says. Worst case scenario, I guess I just apologize to those of you that were selected by Green Bean. I'm going to select some new ones now, so sorry, my rules, my show. Let's see what we got. Okay, winner. For every 25, popping things up on different parts of the screen now. For every 25 likes we get on this show, we pick a qualifier for a t-shirt giveaway that we're doing right now. So I've got to pick 9 winners. 9 qualifiers, not winners. I'm not giving 9 of you guys shirts. Harlan,
that's one.
Harlan Abraham. Oh, Green Bean texted me back. He says he's got him.
Oh, look at that.
Look at Green Bean go. See, you guys are... It's because he's hanging out with us. He's hanging out in there. Let's see. I'll keep going because I'm sure we have some more likes in here than what Green Bean had. Anyway. We got Kev Chatta.
Boom. That's 2.
I like it. See, I'm just going to keep ripping these until Green
Might
Bean
as
texts
well.
me back. Yeah. We'll have bonus winners or bonus qualifiers if I have to. Why not? Jet Up Buttercup.
That's a great name.
It really is. I really like it.
That's a good one.
Let's see. What else we got? See, I'm going to wind up picking like 9 qualifiers or 10 qualifiers. Ooh, okay. So we got it. We got Ryan Rivera. Sorry, I got Sean Ireland. That I just got right now. It's Snoopy. Daily Dukes. Joe Campione. Joe S. Matt Ryder. All right, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, we got 10. Matt, you looking at this poll right now? We've got 325 votes. Who deserves Offensive Rookie of the Year more other than Garrett Wilson or Breece Hall? 50-50 Kenneth Walker, Brock Purdy. I'm going to hit end poll right now because we got an odd amount of votes, which means when I end it, we're going to see what exactly it wound up being. Ooh, 50% Brock Purdy, 49% Kenneth Walker. Interesting.
So stupid.
I think Purdy should get it, especially if he winds up getting to the Super Bowl. Like I think playoffs should count. I don't think it should count towards like stat, accumulation, like yardage and touchdowns and shit. But like if you're winning games, especially as a quarterback, like there's got to be some weight to that.
Then split the award in half. Do a rookie of the first half of the year, Breece Hall, rookie of the second half of the year, Brock Purdy.
Garrett Wilson, love it. Absolutely love your thought process, Matt. I think we could win all the rookies of the year. Okay, so we got our qualifiers from Green Bean. I've got my qualifiers that I threw in here. Matt, can you give me 5 qualifiers from last week's show?
Sure. We'll do Clifford S. 6971.
Okay.
The Highlander Prime.
Okay.
Marlon King 5924.
Okay.
AB 21.
Okay, one more.
John Live 3897.
All right, let's do a little bit of odds or evens here. 3, 2, 1. We got an 8, so we're getting rid of the evens. Kev Chata gone. Ryan Rivera gone. It's Snoopy gone. Joe Campone gone. Matt Ryder gone. Highlander Prime gone. AB21 gone. 3, 2, 1. That's a 5. We're getting rid of the odds. Harlan Abraham gone. Sean Ireland gone. Joe S gone. Marlon King gone. We are down to 1, 2, 3, 4 left. 3, 2, 1. We got a 6. We're getting rid of the evens. Daily Dukes gone. John Live gone. We're down to Clifford S and Jet Up Buttercup. I know which one I'm rooting for because of the name. But let's see how it shakes out. Chat, give us a number. First one after Dylan Grace. 3, 2, 1. Matt, give us a number. Got a 7. 7 plus whatever the chat throws up. What do we got? 7 plus an 8. That's an odd number. Oh, no! Jet Up Buttercup lost.
Oh, that's a shame.
Clifford S. Where's your... Boom. There you go. See, right there. Right somewhere.
There, you got it.
There. Clifford S. Reach out to me on social media. Hit me up on my email. Reach out to me on email. jetstalk247@gmail.com. I'll get your information. I'll send you out a shirt for hanging out with us and always supporting the stream. So guys, on your way out, make sure you hit that like button. We love you guys. Matt, any last words for our panel?
I love it. Tomorrow we got a new episode of Just Jets. We're talking all the quarterback rumors, answering your voicemails, having a ton of fun. Appreciate it if you guys follow along at Matt O'Leary NY. It's always fun talking with you.
Boys and girls, it has been a lot of fun. We're going to figure out this quarterback situation together. It's going to be a lot of fun over these next month or so. Lots of speculation going on. Green Bean, we're hoping you're feeling better over there. We'll see you guys next week. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS!
I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Under pressure, sacked by Quentin Williams. Right sideline, Uzama's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like you get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.